What's up, everybody? Thralls here once again. I'm Necrotic Nick, and it is that time of year again. We are getting down to year-end lists. And as always, I want to kick this off with, again, the shorter releases. So we're going to go over my personal favorite top 10 EPs/splits of 2024. And we might as well just call it EPs this time because I really didn't find a lot of splits that I was like really huge on. But I found a lot of killer shorter offerings once again. And I feel like EPs do kind of get overlooked, so I try to do a separate list for these. Now there are a few on here that I don't have physical media for. Either they just didn't release physical media for it, or they just released it in a medium that I don't collect. But I'm going to do it first here and kick this off with an honorable mention, and it's honestly kind of an honorable mention for my year-end list as a whole, because, I don't know, I struggle calling this a full length, but I struggle calling it an EP, but I love it nonetheless, and that is Nails, Every Bridge Burning. I kind of struggle with the idea of putting a 17-minute album as a full length on here because this, to me, is more of an EP despite the fact that it does have 10 tracks on it. So, semi-controversially, I put it here just because I loved it and I wanted to include it. And this album absolutely rips just like I kind of knew it would. Nails doesn't miss. And this was a nice return after a whole period where it seemed like Nails wasn't going to exist anymore. Like it just kind of came down to everyone leaving the band, and Todd Jones buckled down, got a new lineup, and put out an absolutely blazing, disgusting album. This band's blend of metallic hardcore, power violence, and grindcore is just lethal as hell. Every song in here is explosive. The guitar tone in here is absolutely vicious. Once again, production done by Kurt Balow, so you know it's got that HM2 snarl. And of course, the drums sound like cannon fire in the distance. And this is just Nails pretty much doing what Nails does and doing it exceedingly well. Honestly, I have to say, though, Give Me the Painkiller might be one of the catchiest songs this band has ever written. It's got some, like, legit kind of, like, old-school speed metal hooks to it. But I loved every track in here, regardless of whether or not it cracked the 2-minute mark or was just a 30-second shit fit. This album was just absolutely explosive and lethal. So, yeah, this is my honorable mention, I guess, across the board. I feel as though it is more of an EP, especially considering the other EPs on here. I think all of them might be longer than this one, maybe. I don't know, that line between EP and full length kind of gets blurry occasionally, but yeah, this rips no matter what, so if you haven't checked it out, strongly recommend it. All right, officially starting the list now, we have Morbidity with Malignant Necropsy. It's the debut EP from the Chicago-based death metal act. I absolutely love everything that this band is about, and it's pretty much just straightforward, old school, grimy death metal. You get hints of like more modern tropes, like, you know, there's some slam riffs, there's a little bit of like that hardcore infusion, but a lot of this is just that old school grimy sound, you know, Bull Thrower, Obituary, you know, definitely some Broken Hope in there too. I got this in the Metalhead box, which the Metalhead box has been churning out a lot of cool releases. Like, honestly, that's the thing that I get really excited about. Honestly, I have way too many t-shirts. I probably should stop ordering t-shirts from them, but I get them anyway. What's one more black t-shirt, right? Anyway, this was one of my big standouts this year from the Metalhead box. It just kind of captures everything I love about death metal. All the songs on here, I think, are absolutely awesome. Convulsing in the Tomb, Horrid Dismemberment, Return from the Morgue. Yeah, this just kind of drips with just classic, grimy, ugly death metal. And sneakily, because they're not listed on here, this actually includes a couple of demo tracks, as well as a live cover of an Autopsy song, which I can't remember which one they did. Probably should have wrote that down. Either way, if you're a big old school death metal fan, I strongly recommend checking this EP out. This was an absolute banger. Number 9, which I don't have physical media for because I don't think it was released, either that it was on a tape or a 7-inch or whatever, another medium that I just don't collect. Anyway, it is Escuela Grind with death metal with all the extra letters in there. I know that this band seems to draw the ire of certain groups of people. I mean, we've heard a lot of complaints about them and blah, blah, blah. Honestly, I don't care. Their whole thing on the road, I don't think was ever truly resolved. It just kind of blew over, and then they cranked out another album, which I thought was pretty decent. But this EP, I thought was awesome. This is straight up old school caveman death metal. Ball and Chain, I've jammed that song so many times, just the fat, gnarly grooves on there, the swampy, disgusting riffs. And granted, you could say that's a big part of their style anyway, but hearing them actually kind of strip back some of the grindcore and power violence, you know, influences and just going for just straight up groovy, brutal death metal, This thing was absolutely sick. There's this nice, gritty, swampy production to it. I just love the energy on it. It's a short, violent, awesome EP. And if you're a big fan of bands like Sanguisugabogg, 200 Stab Wounds, and stuff like that, strongly recommend checking out this EP. And again, when it comes down to the controversial year that this band has had, again, I don't think there's much to it at this point. Like, again, it kind of seemed like it just blew over, but I understand this band seems somewhat divisive in the scene. Either way, I strongly recommend checking it out just for the music alone, because this EP was awesome. At number 8, I have Poison Ruin with Confrere. Now, this band put out 2 EPs this year. This was the only one that I picked up just because the other EP was more dungeon synth, and I'm not the biggest fan of dungeon synth. Like, sometimes it's all right, sometimes it's really boring. But I like this band's like overall output just in terms of what they do, which is, you know, more along the lines of like punk with like hints of heavy metal. Honestly, I would not call this a flat out metal album. Like, sure, their imagery definitely evokes a more like metal draw to them, but most of their stuff is rooted in just like gnarly old school like 80s punk, and then they pepper in some more like gothic or heavy metal melodies on here, and honestly it works. These songs are very catchy. You get stuff that kind of feels a little bit closer to like Midnight just in terms of like, you know, the DB grooves and the more like dark atmosphere, but at the same time you get like hooks that wouldn't feel out of place on an album by The Clash. There's a great analog sound to this too. Like, it feels like it has like a crackle and a hiss to it. The vocals are, you know, kind of like reverby, but they're more, again, like punk. Like, they're not roars or growls or screams. They're more like tuneful bellows. And all the songs have some excellent melodic guitar work on it. Nothing flashy at all. I mean, this is like rooted in punk. You don't expect flashy from punk. You just expect energy, and this delivers on that. If you're a big fan of, God, I mean, like, you know, like Misfits, there's some like heavier moments that might be closer to like Black Flag, but also like, you know, just a touch of like Midnight and stuff like that. Check this out. This was an absolutely awesome EP, and that's why it's number 8 on my list. Alluvial, Death is But a Door. This band I have grown to really appreciate over the years. They started off as more of an instrumental, like progressive death metal act. You know, Wes Hawk played in The Faceless, he's played with Devin Townsend, Black Crown Initiate, like he's played in a lot of killer bands. And this band has kind of slowly morphed into a, I would say like kind of a hybrid between like modern death metal and maybe a touch of deathcore, but I think they do it really well. The songs are catchy, they're brutal. The first 2 tracks on here are absolutely amazing. Bog Dweller and Fogbelt. That Digitech dive bomb squeal, whatever the hell it is on Fogbelt, I absolutely love that. It sounds like someone just, I don't know, added some weird filter to, I don't know, like a cat shrieking or something. It's a killer accent on top of these just brutal, plodding, chugging riffs. A lot of this is syncopated breakdowns. Heavier than hell pretty much throughout this, minus the last track, the title track, which is decidedly more melodic and where Wes actually gets to show off some more of his kind of gruff crooning that he does. Kevin Muller, though, owns on vocals. His presence is just felt on every track. His awesome cadences. He's just got this very clear but very brutal delivery. And yeah, this album pretty much thrives on like pinpoint precision, syncopated breakdowns, scorching leads. Every track in here I thought was killer, and I think it's a good progression from what they were doing on Sarcoma, which I thought was an awesome album as well. To a degree, I would argue that this EP kind of pushes their sound in a more brutal direction, but I dig it. They execute it well. If you have not checked out this band in general, I strongly recommend it. And yeah, check out the song Fogbelt just to hear that absolutely gnarly squeal. Like, I don't know why, but I absolutely love that. But yeah, number 7, killer stuff. Number 6 is another one that I don't have physical media for yet. I was kind of banking on it arriving by the time I did this video, but the post office is slow. I guess that's the excuse there. Either way, number 6, Cruelty, Profane, Usuraption. I really wanted to cover this one in a full-on review, but it was during a week where we had so many other things to go over. And believe it or not, we just didn't have time to go over a 16-minute EP. And I really feel like we should have, because I think this is absolutely awesome. Not too much of a difference from what they have been doing on their previous 2 albums, which have been just bone-crunching metallic hardcore with a lot of death metal accents. But I will say that I feel like this one pushes a little bit more towards death metal. The riffs are more than just like the, sledgehammer heavy chugs. Like there's a lot more like tremolo accents and such. And there's just like more of a death metal presence overall. Even the vocals, I feel like there's like more of a death metal blah to them. Death metal fans know what I'm talking about right now. You still got your killer fucking, hardcore screams in the background, and man, the breakdowns. Every single one. This band's Japanese, I have to make one Godzilla reference. They are heavier than Godzilla's footsteps. They hit harder than that stupid tail slide stomp that Godzilla gave Megalon, which is like my least favorite Godzilla movie probably, but I mean, in terms of just goofy Godzilla moments, that's gotta be number one. Anyway, back to this EP. Every track on here, absolutely scorching, just breakdown groove after breakdown groove, lots of D beats. This band continues to impress the hell out of me. I've been a fan since their debut album, and this EP absolutely crushes, and hopefully will arrive in my mailbox soon. But yeah, if you have not checked out Cruelty, I strongly recommend checking out this EP, and then just go ahead and check out the rest of their stuff because it's all awesome. All right, number 5, Parishing, Lutum, or Lutum. I'm not entirely sure how to say that still, and I've been jamming this for a while. I got this from Rotted Life's distro a while ago, and I'm not sure if it qualifies as an EP or a demo. I don't care. This is some of the filthiest death doom I think I heard this year. Fans of Anatomia and Coffins, you should be paying attention right now because this is kind of that sound. This is the debut offering from this Costa Rican death doom band, and they got off to a great start. The production is thick and swampy and murky. The guitars almost sound like they are wet, but not with like water, with like snot and slime and all things just disgusting. The songs are slow, plodding, and lumbering, but man, I love the production on here. This has that demo quality where it sounds very raw, but just that kind of extra crackle and hiss to it, and how they drone on these riffs, and this absolutely disgusting bass tone that's underneath it with these cavernous vocals. It's just this wall of murk that kind of just rolls over you. Every track on here I thought was absolutely awesome, but my big standout might be the last track, Nefarious Acquiescence. That one just brings every bit of like slow, lurching, lumbering heft it possibly can. It's absolutely disgusting. Honestly, you'll probably want to take a shower after listening to this. It's that filthy. Anyway, again, if you're a big fan of Anatomia and Coffins, and I would say like every slow, gloomy breakdown in an incantation album, or an autopsy album, check this out. Absolutely killer EP. Looking forward to hearing more from this band in the future too. At number 4, we have Father Befouled, Immaculate Pain. I dig this EP just about as much as Father Befouled digs Incantation. Yeah, you can definitely boil down this band to like some flat out incantation worship, but man, they do it so well. And something about this band, to me, they just seem like they do it the best when it comes down to their EPs. Like one of my favorite releases from this band is, I believe it's Holy Rotten Blood. That EP absolutely kills from front to back. And this is pretty much the same deal, where it is a short, concise offering of what this band does so well, which is just absolutely filthy, disgusting incantation style of death metal. It's cavernous, it sounds sinister and evil, and it does everything that I would want from a band that sounds like Incantation. Heavy apocalyptic tremolos, galloping blast beats, and of course, lumbering death doom sections. The song Abomination of Flesh is probably my favorite track on here, and one of my favorite new tracks from this band in general. It is the slowest, murkiest, probably most evil thing that is on this EP, and I mean, I can't necessarily say across the board because I've listened to a lot of death metal this year, but man, that song is just absolutely disgusting. Yet another EP I would say is all killer, no filler, and as it should be, because if you're not putting out your best work on an EP that's a short listen, I think you messed up. Baseline, if you were a big fan of Incantation, as well as, Immolation, Drawn and Quartered, stuff like that, even a little bit of Autopsy too, check this EP out. Absolutely monstrous release. Number 3, Enforced, A Leap into the Dark. This EP is absolutely savage, and once again, Enforced, I would say, proves that I think they're one of the most important new bands in thrash, because they just kind of capture that old school thrashy spirit, especially like 90s thrash where it got a little bit heavier. Still has elements of death metal, but yeah, this EP is just absolutely crushing. While this is 100% what you'd expect from Enforced at this point, there are some cool elements of like groove and hardcore that really do show up in here. And they did throw in some extra tracks in here just to kind of give you a little bit more than just, 3 new tracks. The re-recorded version of Casket I thought was awesome, and I absolutely love their cover of Deadly Intentions, originally done by Obituary. While I'll say that Nox didn't fully embrace the John Tardy-isms of the vocals on there, the cover absolutely rules. And yeah, everything about this is just high-octane, vicious, riffy thrash. You will bang your head. You will probably want to throw something in your house. Hopefully something that you don't like that much, because you're probably going to break it. This EP is just gut punch after gut punch. And pretty much if you like your crossover thrash, just extra gnarly and with a touch of death metal to it, check out Enforce, check out this EP, just check out everything that this band has done, because honestly, they're like batting 1,000 in my opinion. They have not missed yet. So yeah, number 3, excellent job once again, Enforced. Number 2 on my list, I don't have yet, because they haven't got around to pressing CDs, but I know they will, and this is one that we recently went over, and I have been absolutely stuck on since listening to it, and that is Axioma's Live Totality. This Cleveland-based post-metal, black metal, post-black metal, there's a hint of like sludge and death metal in there. They're hard to describe, but they are suffocatingly heavy, lush and atmospheric, but just dark and sullen, and they captured it beautifully on this EP. But of course, the crown jewel on this EP is the first track, the title track, which I just think was absolutely awesome that they recorded live during the solar eclipse in Cleveland, where we had the full path of Totality. And I strongly recommend watching the music video for it, because it's really awesome. They had like cool drone footage and such. But I love how this song kind of follows the eclipse. There's like a slow build to it, and when it gets to that whole Totality moment, like it is just crushingly heavy. Huge Neurosis vibes, like when those heavy guitars kick in on that first track. Again, it's like the breakdown on The Doorway, which, like, I don't know, that's like one of my favorite breakdowns ever. That track being this just drawn out, awesome, moody instrumental. I absolutely love the vibe in it. It's hypnotic, it's meditative, but it's also just soul-crushingly heavy. And that still describes the other 3 tracks in here, which I think are all awesome. The last track, which I still not sure how to pronounce, I think is probably one of their most dynamic tracks, where you have like elements of like sludge metal and death metal. There's a cool black metal section with blast beats and some amazing drum work on that song. But yeah, every song on this EP was awesome. Even the transitional track, I just think it's like this beautiful setup song to the last track. I know this is kind of high for an album we just went over, but I have been stuck on it since. It's just sort of inescapable. It's kind of like staring at the eclipse. I was actually in the area when that happened, and I got some cool pictures and shit, and it was just amazing to witness. Like, you felt like you were witnessing, I don't know, maybe the end of the world. I know there were like a lot of lunatics out there thinking that it was like an harbinger of doom, and the devil's gonna come out of the ground, or Cthulhu would come out of Lake Erie. I don't know. People are dumb. It was just an amazing thing to witness. And this EP kind of just captures that sort of like dark, sinister vibe that was kind of floating in the air that day. Anyway, if you're a big fan of just heavy, lumbering post-metal, especially, like, again, huge Neurosis vibes, Isis, Minsk, Cult of Luna, stuff like that, strongly recommend you check out this EP. And as soon as CDs are available, believe me, I'm getting one. And my number 1, my favorite EP of 2024 is one that you probably just saw in a collection update. But here's the thing, I recorded those like forever ago, and I've been jamming this EP quite a bit since. And admittedly, I was expecting something different from this band, just because their debut album is a lot different than this release, and that is Sedimentum, with their very, very, very French name for this EP, along with their very, very French song titles. I really want to try to say this, but I've already tried to say this once and failed miserably in the collection update where this premiered. So I'm not. I'm just going to put it up here, and if you can say that, cool. And if not, well, at least now you know what to look for in terms of like trying to find this album. Anyway, this band's original full length I absolutely loved. It was just nasty old school death metal, very aggressive. It was pretty fast paced too. And then listening to this, it almost sounds like a different band, but it sounds absolutely amazing. They sort of shifted tracks to more death doom on here, and very atmospheric death doom. Like, Spectral Voice, very comparable. I would also say like probably like early Hooded Menace. And these songs are just monolithically heavy, but loaded with lush atmosphere, killer riffs. They found this good balance between like, you know, drawing out these like doomy sections, but also peppering in great riffy melodies. You have huge cavernous vocals. It sounds absolutely just massive. And again, very different from their first album, but I feel like they executed the sound pretty much to perfection. All 3 tracks in here are amazing. They are as amazing as they are difficult to pronounce. I will say the last track in here is probably my big standout. It is one of the most dynamic tracks. Just lots of cool riff changes, big atmospheric swells. There's haunting, clean guitars. There's just this suffocating, but I don't know, like hypnotic atmosphere to this that I just latched on to. Now, full transparency, if I had heard that they had shifted tracks in terms of their sound, I might have been a little bit more hesitant about picking this one up, but I really didn't get a chance to jam it until, you know, well, when it arrived quite some time ago. And while it caught me off guard, again, I was just drawn into this. This is an absolutely fantastic EP from start to finish. If you're a big fan, again, of I mean, you know, definitely Spectral Voice and just like very much that style of like Death Doom in particular, also like earlier Hooded Menace. There's moments on here that kind of reminded me of like Evoken, like almost more Funeral Doom-ish at times. But yeah, just absolutely killer songwriting, killer EP, my favorite EP of 2024. And that will do it for, well, pretty much like the kickoff here for Year-End List, because not long after this, I'm going to get down to recording my top 40 albums of 2024, and what a year it has been. I probably say this every year we do this, but this was particularly difficult this year. I had like 6 albums vying for the #1 spot. Yeah, it was a lot of intense listening and trying to figure out where things were going to fall, but yeah, that is up next. But if you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, and if you are new to the channel, subscribe, because we do stuff like this all the time. We also have memberships. They are only 99 cents, and we offer a members only live stream every now and then. Like, we're gonna probably not do one this month just because holidays, madness, insanity, all that stuff. But more than likely at some point in January, we're gonna do another one of those, and we're probably gonna find like some cool theme to talk about throughout that. But we also have dumb emojis, which really isn't a perk or anything. It's just a thing we have. And yeah, this is the new way to support the channel. If you guys would like, we also still have our store, thrallsmetal.com, with our t-shirts and hats. There's a link to that down below in the video description. And I will put the full top 10 list down below as well. I just want to wait like maybe a day because, you know, I want to keep it kind of mysterious. But yeah, if you're interested in our merch, link down below at thrallsmetal.com. And if you are interested in joining the channel, there's a join button down below. And of course, thank you guys once again. We got another year in the books. It's absolutely crazy. We've been doing this for like 6 years now, but man, it has been so much fun doing this, and I look forward to just overloading you guys with more content. I got a lot of stuff that I'm working on right now just to kind of get away from all the collection updates and reviews, because it's going to be kind of a, you know, light period there for a while, because January is never that busy, and February, it's kind of like up and down. But yeah, we appreciate every bit of support you guys give us. We are on the precipice of hitting 20,000 subscribers, which I will be doing a giveaway video not long after our list debut. I don't think we'll hit the 20,000 mark by then. Either way, tons of reasons to stay tuned to the channel. So one more big thank you, because you guys are awesome, and we will catch you later.